Hello, everyone, and welcome to VO in Stereo. Thank you for being here today. I'm your host, Jared Breshers, along with Stephen Coghill. And please help me welcome Jorge Infante Jr., engineer and VO talent extraordinaire.
Thank you. Hey, guys, good to see y'all.
Great.
Welcome.
Oh, well, I mean, good to have you here, first of all. I don't have that much time with you. I think we've been friends now for 2.5, 3 minutes. It's a long relationship. But you and Steven have quite a bit that you guys have done together and interacted with. So I'm going to let Steven take over with the questions in here just so we can get to know you and get to know more about Jorge.
All right. Well, it should be a very interesting story then.
Awesome.
Yes, hopefully I'll learn something that I didn't know before. We'll see. We'll see.
And so will everybody else.
So my first question to you, Mr. Jorge, is where were you born?
I was born in a city called Monterrey. It's in Mexico, and it's in the state of Nuevo León. And I was born there in 1970.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, man. Yes.
I'm joking, of course. So growing up in there, you're obviously not there. And how long did you live in Mexico for?
Till I was 14. And then my parents immigrated to the U.S. in the early 80s when President Ronald Reagan did a immigration reform. And my parents qualified for that. And once my dad became a citizen, then I was a citizen.
Awesome.
And I've been here since then, 84, 36 years. I've been.
How was that
in
transition for you?
Huh?
How was that transition for you at 14, being a teenager?
Yeah, man, that was really, really tough. It was a culture clash, major. So, coming from in Mexico, I was going to a Catholic private school. And then arriving to the States and going to a public school, which are great. You can't compare public schools in the U.S. with the ones in Mexico. It was even better than my private school, but it wasn't. It was something else. It was just language, the people, no friends. Obviously, when I was 14, I wanted to stay in Mexico. I didn't want to really leave because I had my friends, and as a kid, you don't understand what your parents are trying to do for your life at that age. So, I was just being a kid, and I remember not wanting to come, and now this is home for me. I love it here. And I go to Mexico for vacation and things like that, but I can only stay for, a few days, and I have to, I miss home, and San Antonio is my home now.
Awesome.
And when you growing up in Mexico, were your parents creative?
My dad is a musician. He was a professor at a local university in Monterrey. He's a pianist, composer, writer. And so I did grow up in the arts, music specifically. And then I just kind of went into acting after that. I was 5 years old when I did my first play in theater. And that's because my dad was a professor at the university, and the campus was mixed with music and actors. And the actors were doing a play for the end of the year, and they were doing the Little Prince. I don't know if you're familiar with that story. The Little Prince is a book, and it's about a little kid that comes into Earth trying to find the meaning of life, and he runs into several characters. But he's a really young kid. And so the students at college were looking for a young kid to play that part. And they saw me, walking around the halls at the university when I used to hang with my dad. And they say, hey, can we cast audition your son and see if he would be okay for this play? And my dad said, yeah, sure. So I ended up getting the gig. I learned my lines by listening to cassette tape that my dad recorded, because I didn't read at the time. And so I would listen to the tape all day long, every day, until I memorized all my lines. And then I did the play. and it was fun. From there, it just kind of, it was like a little ladder. I just went on to doing other theater. I did about 4 or 5 different other plays until I was 10 years old. I did some TV. Um, and then I joined in the in the early 80s, 81, 82, right before we left Mexico, I joined a group of children's group, or like, that was the Menudo era. Do you remember that? The Menudo era. So they were really famous. And so everybody was trying to do a boy girl band. So I was in one of those, and we did an album, and we tour Mexico, all over Mexico. And that was another experience. So that was my first full length recording as a singer. And I was 11 years old. It lasted for about 2 or 3 years. And so that was a lot of fun. So coming from all of that, now at that point, I was somewhat famous. I was known. They see me in the street, and the kids would recognize me, and there's the bullying and all of that stuff, that comes with it. But so it was a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, I left all that behind and came to San Antonio, and there was nothing, and so that was for one thing, it was a relief, because nobody knows you, nobody knows who you are. So it was kind of cool, you kind of starting from scratch. But, I kind of became quiet and shy, after being in a stage with, 5,000, 10,000 people. It was kind of overwhelming, and then nothing. So I had to start over from scratch. So I just kind of dedicated myself to study. And I finished high school and did audio engineering school. And I didn't come back to the arts until I was about 20 years old. I came back to TV and voiceover acting. I was an entertainment reporter for Univision, a local station here in San Antonio, for 11 years. So I got to interview a lot of popular artists at that time, from 2000 to 2011. And so I kind of came back again, but now in my hometown.
And how did it transfer from what you were doing into voiceover?
So after school, I got a gig. First, I got a gig with live bands. I was doing sound for live bands, so I was on tour. That kind of got old, but really soon. I think I did 2 years, and it was really tough, living on a bus every week, 4 days out of a week, and doing gigs, and then be home for 2-3 days, and then have to be on the road again. Man, the road was bad. I mean, it was fun. I learned a lot, but it was an experience. I left that and went into a production studio, and I started working in a production studio. At that time, Pro Tools was brand new. It wasn't even called Pro Tools. It was called Master Tracks or
Cakewalk.
No. It was DigiDesign, and it was their first 2-track, 4-track editor, and that's where I started using Pro Tools, and then I started doing production for radio and advertising agencies and TV. And it's kind of funny because I was working with an agency, and we were doing we were recording a radio spot in English. So when we were done, and okay, that's a great take, the director's saying goodbye to the talent. Thank you so much. At that time, the talent would be in the studio present. Everybody was present. We had, the director, the agency, the client, and then the talent, myself as the engineer. So there was quite a lot of people there in the studio back in those days. And then we were done, and the client turns to the agency and says, okay, well, let's do the Spanish version of that. We have just finished. And the agency was like, ooh, I can tell they were surprised. They weren't expecting that. They threw them a curveball. They weren't ready. And so they knew I spoke Spanish. They look into me and says, hey, anybody that can read in Spanish? I say, well, I can give it a shot. And since I've been doing the whole session with them, from the beginning, getting all the direction from the director, getting the talent to do all the takes. I had it. I just needed to perform it in Spanish. So I went in the booth, I hit record, I did my performance just like the English guy, but in Spanish. Said, great, that's it, boom. And that was my first gig. And then,
Nice.
you know, from there, I started building my demo. I made cassettes back in those days. I made cassettes, sending out to um, agents to represent me. I had somebody in Austin that was representing me at the time. And little by little, I started picking up gigs. I did a couple of SAG-AFTRA. It was after then. It wasn't SAG-AFTRA. They weren't united yet. And I did a couple of gigs for those. So I was qualified to join the union, and I joined the union after that, and I became a member. And then, you know, they joined SAG-AFTRA, and I continued, and I'm here 30 years later.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how it started.
It all starts from somewhere, right?
It starts somewhere,
It all
man.
starts rolling down the hill, and before you know it,
And it's not like you didn't have to deal with a lot. Like transitioning as a teenager, especially coming from kind of being a Spanish heartthrob to going to nothing, like you said, that had to be extremely difficult.
Oh yes,
emotionally difficult.
Oh yeah. And for for the family as well. My parents, they had to start from scratch as well. And,
parents only want what's good for their babies.
And
all the
yeah,
time.
and so here we are, and but everything's well, everything's good. A lot of things has happened, as you know, since then. Now we're doing everything online, and wow.
Yeah, that brings me to one of my questions. What do you miss since the onset of the pandemic, like the COVID? Like, what do you miss most about being free to just go about?
Well, the contact with folks, with people, as our culture is, we hug and kiss.
I'm a big hugger.
It's a hugging culture, and handshake, and so obviously we don't have any of that right now. So I do miss that contact, that personal touch with people. I miss it. It's great online. You get used to it, but it's online. It's not the same,
Yeah.
I feel like I want to offer you, I don't know, a whiskey or something, and bring it out, and hey, let's have a drink and
Exactly.
chat.
Celebrate life.
Yes. So I do miss that. Yes.
Absolutely.
it's tough. It's tough right now.
It is.
And who were your influences? Did you have any influences coming up? Some people you looked up to that, maybe either you just looked up to, or maybe they actually helped you out directly?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. In my beginnings, I've met a lot of folks working in the recording studio here in San Antonio. I have met a lot of people, a lot of them interesting, a lot of them famous, a lot of them not famous, but yes, famous. And what I mean is, VO folks are famous as voiceovers, but the masses
Right.
don't really know.
Right. You can walk down the street and nobody.
Yeah,
knows
they don't
who
know
they
who
are.
they are, but as voice talent, oh my God, that's, like Don LaFontaine, he became very famous for the movie tracks, and there are some folks that don't know. All they heard is "In a Whirl," and that's what they know, but they didn't know who the guy was. Anyway, so I met a lot of folks in my beginnings. I met one guy that helped me out a lot in my career, and kind of pushed me national, I guess I want to say, because before that I was just local. I was working here in Texas, and that's all I had. But I met him in the studio. He came to town. He was on tour because he was the voiceover of a commercial campaign for, I think it was Bud Light, and it was the man of oh God, what was the name of that campaign? Real Men of Genius. The Men of Genius. That's it. And his name is Pete Stacker. And he was the voice that would tell the story. And there was another guy singing, "The voice." And we drink for you to do this and do that. And he had that
Up to
voice.
you, Mr. Beer
And the guy
Farter.
singing in the background, yeah, drink away, blah, blah, blah. And it was so famous. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah.
Big
Oh
time
yeah.
that they went on tour. They started performing live in clubs. Pete Stacker and the guy that sang, I can't remember that guy's name. And so he was in San Antonio doing a gig, and obviously those gigs were at night. So he spent the whole day back to back doing sessions in the studio with me. And we were just doing everything. At the time it was ISDN, and we're doing sessions ISDN with Country Network Television, with CBS, or I mean, he was doing promos all day long, commercials, promos, TV shows. He was the voice of very popular shows, and he's a big cat, Pete Stacker. He's big time. And so, talking to him all day long, I told him what I did, and I was a Spanish voiceover, and he asked me, how I was doing. I told him, well, I said, it's very difficult to get into other markets because I don't live there. For example, New York. I don't live in New York, and the agents won't consider me because I'm not there. Even though I have access to ISDN and I can do remote sessions at that time. But they won't consider me. It's same with Los Angeles. And he says, no, don't worry about it. Let me talk to my agent. And right there and then he called his agent in New York and says, hey, you're going to get a demo from this guy. I want you to listen to him and see what you think. And he gave me the contact. I sent my demo, and the guy in New York answered me back, and he became my agent. And I started getting, castings for national gigs. And so that was really cool I really appreciate Pete Stacker helping me out like that. That was one, but I've met a lot of actors as well. Some of them live here in San Antonio. Some have just been passing through, but I've been doing a lot of ADR work in the studio with them. I've done about 10 movies with Tommy Lee Jones, a few more with Thomas Hayden Church, and another actor, Jackie Earl Haley, that lives here in San Antonio as well. So I've worked with those folks. I've met, what was her name? She was doing some commercials, and I did some ADR as well with Eva Longoria.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when she was in that show, The Desperate Wives, yes. And just folks like that would be coming through town, and they'd had to record something, and I met them in the studio, and so it was a lot of fun. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. So definitely there's a lot of influence there.
For sure.
Yes.
Well, that sounds completely boring. It sounds like you don't have a good time ever.
And meet no one of any interest at all.
Right?
Not
But you know what? That brings up a good question. Have you ever had an incident or like a session or like even like a crap job, like something that's just sucked, like something that really sucked?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, in the same, even though it's really interesting to do ADR work, the actors don't really like to do it. They've already done the movie. And then, 5-6 months later, they get a call that says, hey, we have a problem with production sound. It didn't really come out right. Can you, go to the studio and do some ADR? And so by the time they get to me at the studio, they're already mad at me, and I had nothing to do with it. And they're mad because they have to show up and then get back in that same zone that they were 5-6 months ago. And, at this point they're in the studio and they don't have the set, their wardrobe, they're other actors. They're just looking at a screen with numbers. They're hearing themselves and they're just trying to mimic what they're, fixing whatever the error was, or sometimes just getting bad words out of for TV broadcast type of thing. And so a lot of times they already come in mad. And so they kind of, there's a little tension there until I get to talk to them, and then they loosen up and things start to flow really well. And then, we get the job done and boom. But the beginning, it's always like, oh, what are we going to do? What is this? Why do I have to do this again?
Why am I here making
why are you
a
making
bunch of money
here that,
talking into a microphone?
Hey, I'm just the engineer. I just push the button, but we're going to connect with the director. The director is going to tell you blah, 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 blah. And, So it's pretty interesting. But I mean, it's not like a really bad session. It's just that made me feel a little uncomfortable
Comfortable, right?
that actors, as a rule, they don't really want to come back and do ADR work.
Ooh, you said the word comfort, which brings up my favorite question of any interview.
Yeah.
What is your comfort food? Like like if you're away from home or you're not feeling good, what's the one thing that you can eat or drink and you'd be like, all right, I'm better now. I'm centered.
Oh man, I have to say steak. I'm a steak guy. I grew up vegetarian. My parents were vegetarians, and they still are. I didn't try meat until I was here in the States, in school, in high school. I had a cheeseburger. I was like, wow,
Oh,
cool.
that's the way to go right there.
Wow, nice. So now as an adult, I like steak a lot, but I have to be careful. I don't need it every day. So, I try to watch myself what I eat and maintain, but I do love a good steak every once in a while. Not raw. Steven can tell us about that. Steven has an adventure about that, but
yeah, it's a bad story.
yeah, not good.
That's not good. No, it was not
Who
good.
likes raw steak?
Nobody likes raw.
Nobody
steak.
likes raw.
I don't like raw.
I met some people that really like
Oh yeah,
rare.
yeah, like steak tartare and stuff. Yeah.
One dig. I like mine medium, between medium well or just medium.
Yep,
Yes.
I'm a medium well guy
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit of pinkish gray in the middle, then
So, that's a comfort food. If I go to vacation, when I went to Vegas, I had to go to Vegas to try steak. If I go to LA, I go to LA to try steak. And I kind of try steaks in all the regions and see what's good and what's not. But yeah,
you're in Texas.
no, we have great steak here too. Yeah.
It's like this big. Oh, that's the kids' portion.
Oh,
Right.
The only thing I've never had is the big tomahawk.
I was gonna say the tomahawk steaks.
I haven't had one of those. It's just man, that's
It
looks like an adventure. I mean,
it's an adventure and an investment.
yes, and probably you'll be sorry the next day. But yeah, those are huge steaks.
Yeah, monstrous. I see like Friend Flintstone eating one of those, but that's about it.
That's right.
He's flipping his car over,
Yeah.
And let me ask you a question about acting and VO and all that. Did you have any coaching or any acting lessons, or was this just like I can just do this and I'm just going to learn as I go?
Well, since I started very early, I did get some training with acting as a kid in theater. So obviously in theater, you're very animatic and you project a lot, and you have to be loud, and there's no mic at the time. There were no microphones, so you have to be loud and very expressive and a little more exaggerated than the norm. So I did have some training on that, but as I got older, it was very easy for me to make a transition from that kind of acting into voice acting, because now my whole, instead of acting in the whole stage, I'm just right here in front of the mic. This is where I have to perform. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do, be too loud or too soft. I can do my performance right here. So it became a lot easier for me to do that as an actor, just to perform right here and get all my emotions in front of the microphone. I did do some training. I went to Mexico City with a friend of ours, Mario Filio. I took one of his workshops. I did others here in San Antonio with another voiceover coach. And so, yes, I did some training for voiceover work. I was never the typical announcer, the voice of this and this and that. That's not my voice. So I never went that route. I've always been the guy that's taking your order on the drive-through. Hey, well, hello, welcome to this and this. Can I take your order? I've been the college student, the young dad now, the waiter, always a character. That's my acting skills really paid off like that. But I don't have the deep voice to do promos or movie trailers or be a regular announcer. Nowadays, things have changed, and so now they're looking for a lot of people that can just be themselves without being an announcer. So I picked up a few more gigs when this new trend came in, and so that's kind of helped me a lot in the last 5-6 years to get more accounts as an announcer, but not really an announcer. You know what I mean? They never want an announcer now. They just want a guy. but the
We
next
want you an announcer, but like you're talking to your best friend from
you're talking
college
to your
from
best
20
friend and
years
it's
ago.
conversational. That's the
Right.
thing right now. Yes. So that's the most recent. That's what I've been doing. Yeah.
And speaking of Mario Filio, how did you first meet Mario?
In the studio, I he had a really big account in the advertising agency. Was here in San Antonio, and it used to be an electronics store called Circuit City. You
Mhm.
remember those? They disappeared.
Oh yeah.
I used to shop
So
there all the
he,
time.
yeah, yeah. So the advertising agency for U.S. Hispanic was here in San Antonio, and Mario was the voice of them. And so I'll be doing ISDN patches with Mexico City and Mario Filio in Mexico City and San Antonio here, and I would do those productions, and that's how I met him on one of his trips to San Antonio, because it turns out one of his brothers moved to San Antonio, so I got to meet him as well. And so when Mario came to visit, I met him in person, and that was maybe 20 years ago or so. And
Wow.
and after working with him long distance, then I met him in person, and we got along really well, and I've known him ever since. And he's had a very successful career, and he's got those workshops that help a lot of people. If if they're looking for training, and I took one of those, and it did help me. Yeah, I mean, got me back on track. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Mario's amazing. I love that man.
Yes. Yes. And are you gonna have him in the show? Because he's another huge story, man.
I would love to have him
Yeah.
on the show. I haven't asked him yet, but I plan to for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to see that one. Yeah.
Me too. Me too for
I always
sure.
like it because it's so much fun to say all our Spanish guests' last name. So I find myself throughout the week, like when we had our friend Pepe on, and there was
Oh
the
yeah.
whole Cumba, 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 Cumba. My wife's like, stop. I'm like, you want me to stop saying Pepe
He's
Cumba?
a Pempecamba.
So everybody's been such a blast. It's always such a good time.
That's great. That's
And
awesome.
do you know Pepe just as long as you know Mario, or how did you meet
No,
Pepe?
I met Pepe at Voiceover Atlanta in
Huh.
a couple of years ago, or
That's where I
maybe
got my start.
Okay, all right. So a couple of years ago. So basically, when I met Pepe, you kind of met
That's
him.
right. That's right. We met
Okay,
him
well
at the
then there
same
you
time
go.
because that was the first time he had been there.
I see. I didn't know that you had just met him. See, that's interesting.
Oh, okay. No, I just met him then, and I just can't remember because what happened this year? We didn't.
We didn't do anything this year.
No, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't last year, was it? Or
Last year we did Voice Masters and Pepe was there.
it was, but it was before in Atlanta.
But it was at VO Atlanta when we met Pepe
So
and all
maybe it
that.
has just been a year or a little over a year, maybe.
Yeah, I mean
Has it been 2 years?
I think he's been there the past couple of years.
Oh, he has. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know, man. I lost track with the pandemic. I don't know
I
what.
know.
I
It's
don't
just
know what's
it's
going on.
crazy. It's crazy. This year's been insane. Insane.
Yes. Yes.
But it led us to
Insane is the
this.
new normal.
Yes.
Video and stereo. So
Oh,
it
I
can't
can
be
hear
too
you.
bad.
There you go. Test it. Test it.
I know. Maybe we should put like Jared to the left and me to the right, and then you in the center. I don't know.
That would be great.
We're freaking everybody out.
Yes.
So was there a VO person that inspired you, a voiceover person that inspired you, or was it just kind of like voiceover? You just kind of fell into it. I know you told the story already, but I didn't know if there was people like you looked
There
up to
was,
and were like,
yes, there was one guy that I used to come to the recording studio to do recordings all the time. He was the voice of a supermarket here in Texas. It's called HEB. I'm not sure you guys are familiar with it, but it's Texas and some other couple other states and in Mexico City. It's our supermarket, and so he was the voice of them for years and years and years, and so uh, he was a very professional guy. He came from radio. Um, he passed away a few years ago, but yeah, he was kind of like my mentor. Yes, I would go up to him and ask him how I can do this and do that. He would give me tips and give me suggestions, and he would help me out. So yes, he was a big help in my career. His name was Guillermo Lozano, and may he rest in peace. And he was great. He was great. Growing up with him, it was awesome. I learned all this in the studio, man. Just it was hands on. There was no school. It was right when you're working, hands on.
I think that's better anyway.
And mistakes I've made has been there in the studio. I've made plenty of mistakes. You learn by experience. That's what I have.
Well, that's how you learn, by making mistakes. Because you're certainly
By
not going
making
to learn it
mistakes.
by.
I have learned my lessons. Yes.
You're not going to learn by being successful all the time, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, they don't teach you that in school, man. You have to kind of live it.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yes.
What's your current setup? So it looks like you're in a whisper room.
This is a whisper room, yes, and right outside is my control room.
Is that a TLM 103?
This is a TLM 103, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what sort of interface are you using?
I use an Apollo 8 from Universal Audio. I really like it.
Nice choice.
And I'm using a API Unison preamp. You know that it works with software, right, with those plugins. And so I'm running the mic through that. Very light, nothing major, just light, very light compression, just because, engineers on the other end don't like a lot of compression. And so it's very light and almost no EQ, maybe a tiny bit of high end. That's it.
Nice.
Oh, I roll off some of the bass below 60. It's not needed. I don't have that tone.
And how about those headphones you have on your head? What are those?
These are Focal.
Focal.
Focal. I don't know how to say them in English. Focal? No. Focal.
I've
French.
heard.
Sounds like something you say when you're mad in traffic. Focal.
Focal.
You are focal, right? Yes. Focal. I like them. They're really flat. They're cool.
Yeah, nice.
These are my personal ones. When I have people here in the studio, and when they have clients, I use Audio Technicas, the MX50s.
Nice.
But these are for me. I take this with me.
I feel you. And what's your do you have like a portable thing you bring around with you?
Yes, my travel kit, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have a travel kit. It's my computer, a MacBook Pro with it's a small mic by Ep18. It's called Hype Mic, and my vocal booth to go, and that's it. My headphones, I take them with me, but I try to be as compact as possible. So that was the best that I could get to travel with. Yeah, that's best option.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're not doing much traveling
right now? None. No, not right now. My last trip was to Guatemala last year, around this time. I think I was in Guatemala this time last year, exactly.
But then you were in Mexico in October, because I was
right when I came back from Guatemala. That next week I was with you in Mexico City. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you say Guatemala one more time for me?
Guatemala.
Oh, go.
Guatemala. That reminds me of the movie The Birdcage, and you remember that?
Oh, the Birdcage. Oh, you're fabulous, guys.
Yes.
Stop
well,
it. Oh,
remember the guy that was cleaning the he was Guatemalan. You can't handle my Guatemalanness.
You cannot handle my Guatemalanness.
You cannot handle my Guatemalanness. And that guy's a great voiceover actor, man. I admire him a lot. He does a lot.
One of my favorite. Hank Azaria.
Hank Azario.
Yeah, he's great. And
yes.
And in that movie, he changed it when, towards the end, when he had to pretend to be a butler. Welcome. His voice was all deep. But then when he was doing his character, he was just Guatemalanness. What a great character, man. That was awesome. Yeah.
That's a very funny movie.
Well, I mean, I can only think of one more question that I have for you. I don't know how much Steven has, but I have one more. If you were the ruler of the world, and you had your number one rule, what would your number one rule if you ruled the world be?
I wish peace for the entire world, peace and love, harmony, and prosperity. Am I saying that right?
Prosperity, that works.
Prosperity. How about that? Do I sound like
That's beautiful.
Miss Texas? Pageant.
You're the pageant winner. You did so good. Bless your heart. We love having you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, man. You know,
There ain't nothing wrong with that sentiment.
Oh no.
we're living hard times, and in every aspect right now, financial, political, anything. I don't really talk about politics or religion. It's not my rule.
Yeah,
But
it's tough right now. It's tough.
Same.
yeah, it's not my topics of expertise or anything. But yeah, if I was ruler, I would try to convey the message that we're all human beings and we need to live together, and there's got to be love and peace. We're brothers, man. There's no need for hate. Boom. That's
I'm
all.
coming down for some whiskey and steak.
Whiskey and steak, man.
Tomahawks.
Yes. And for my vegetarian friends, I'll have some broccoli and grilled.
You got to have
Broccoli
something
tomahawk.
green.
Yes. Besides the steak, yes, you have to have
Or
grilled.
some tomatillo sauce on it. That's it.
Yes.
So, what was my next question? My next question was, so if someone was getting into VO and they had never, they didn't know anything about VO, and they're looking for maybe some tips or some advice, would you have anything to say to anyone starting out in VO?
Yes. Well, when I started, there weren't that many training places, and now you can find training everywhere, very easy. So my first thing is learn, educate yourself, train, learn the business. It's not just talking. A lot of people come up to me and says, "Hey, I have a really nice voice. I want to start." And I said, "No, dude, it's not about having a nice. Yes, it's a plus having a great voice, but you have to know how to use it. What if I can grab one of your guitars there, Steven, and say, "Hey, I want to play guitar," and I grab the guitar and I don't know how to play it, man. I have to learn how to play it. So it's the voice is your instrument, and you have to learn how to use it, and it takes education, training, and so that's my first suggestion. Once they have that, then they have because that's a whole thing, training and getting yourself trained for voiceover. Then you have to kind of move forward into the technical side, which is the audio engineering. Nowadays everybody's doing their own thing at home, their own setups and studios and computers and editing. So they have to know that as well. Back in the day, you were a voice talent, but you didn't know anything about editing or anything. You just show up to the studio and somebody else would record you, and then you finish your performance and you go home. Nowadays, you have to do everything. So that's the second thing. Then after that, becomes the administrative work, your marketing, your having your accounts ready, how to bill people, invoice them, keeping track of all of that, and then prepare your taxes at the end of the year. So it's a whole career. It's not just I just want to do voiceover. That's not going to get you anywhere. If you really want to do voiceover, you have to learn the entire business of it. It's a whole new business.
And do you think people are intimidated by this? I think a lot of people are.
Some do. Some don't get intimidated by that. I've met a lot of folks that they do go through the whole thing, and they come back and ask me to train them on audio engineering because I'm not a voice coach. But after they do their coaching, they come back to me and say, "Hey, can you teach me how to use?" They always start with Audacity because it's free. So can you teach me how to run Audacity just to so I can practice editing and do this and that? And so I give them a couple of classes on how to edit and how to do mic technique, be in front of the microphone. A lot of people they still do this in front of the microphone. Please, step back, don't talk directly into the mic. And so there's a lot of that. They already know their voiceover. So now the technical side, I help them out a little bit. And then they go with somebody else that does the marketing and, the administrative kind of work that I try to do my own, but that's difficult too, man. Doing your own marketing, that's hard to do. Yeah.
I suck at administrative part.
Yes. That's the, when you have to pay your bills or send those invoices, it takes time, man. It takes a lot of time.
I'm sure there are people who kind of focus on marketing for other people, right? I mean,
There
there's
are
people,
plenty coaches that do marketing. Yes, sir.
so you
Yeah.
can actually hire them to do your marketing as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. But once money starts rolling in, yeah, you can hire people. It's in the beginnings, it's always very tough to get people to help you and pay them because then at that point you won't be making any money. But once you're starting to see some returns, then you can, and if you're lacking time or you don't want to do it, but you do have the funds, you can hire people to do that kind of work. Yeah.
Nice. And where can people find Jorge Infante if they
Well,
would like to seek him out?
yeah. look for me in a store nearby.
He's off Route 55 on exit 35. He'll just be waving at you.
We'll work for VO. He'll have a sign.
Exit I-35, 525. I'm in my name, JorgeInfante.com. Boom. That easy.
Boom.
Say that again 3 times.
JorgeInfante.com. 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 En español.
Oh,
JorgeInfante.com.
Beetlejuice.
Are you on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff?
I do it. Honestly, I'm very difficult to work. That's one of my down, I guess, my down things that I'm not very efficient with social media. I have difficulties being present. I do have some presence. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist nowadays if you didn't have presence. But it's, yeah, I do. I am present. I'm just not very active.
That's probably for the best. Everybody's insane.
Yes. One of the rules back when all these started, one of the rules, and working at a recording studio, the client never, they have you sign NDAs and you can't really tell people where you're going to be working or what you did until the spot was on the air, things like that. So my generation is not, I can't really go online and say, hey, I just did this and for this and this and that. I can't.
Right.
I just, I do
Right.
my work. If I put anything online, it's maybe when I get home and having a glass of whiskey, like you're having. I'll post that a glass of whiskey and say, enjoying this after a long day of work. But when it comes to work, it's a little. Don't like to say much about that.
I understand. Yeah. Not everybody wants to share every aspect of their life online.
Right.
Every second of the day, but
that's the one awesome thing about being a voice actor is when people ask you, oh, what have you done? And you can ramble off stuff and like, I had no idea. And you're like, that's the point.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stalked by a bunch of crazy people.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And another thing, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah. You can go to the store and not get bothered.
If there's anything to you.
You can go to the store and get treated like crap like everybody else.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Just another guy.
You have your rights as an American. Be insulted just like everyone else.
Nobody.
I've had such a good time. My brain, I'm sure I could just keep going with crazy questions, but is there anything that you felt like you want to convey or let everybody know? Or, I mean, is there anything we missed out that you really feel like you should let us know?
Current projects?
I can't really speak of those, but lately a lot of political stuff in that. That's all I have to say about that. Pretty hot items right now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
are you a side item? Are you doing any political VO?
Yes, I have. Originally, I didn't want to, but this pandemic really kicked my butt, and I said, no, I should take the gig. I can't really get.
There's a lot of people that are doing the same.
Yeah. So
yeah. Regardless of how they feel.
Yeah. But yes, I've been doing a few. And the unfortunate part of it is that now that we have this online and you're accessible 24/7. Nowadays it's like I got the call at 7:30 this morning. It says, hey, the client wants to record today at 10 out of the blue. I had no idea yesterday. I went to sleep at 4 a.m. watching TV, just shows, and because I've been doing that lately, staying up late night. And but I heard my phone and I kind of picked it up and I had a text that gotta be ready by 10. Whoa! So I got up, dressed, and then do my 20-minute drive to the studio because I'm not at home. I'm in the studio, and I've been here. And then so when the this happened today when the session was over. Okay, great. It was noon. I went home, had lunch. I hadn't had anything, so I was having my lunch, and I get a second call. Hey, another client wants you right now, and said, "Oh, just give me an hour because I got to drive back to the studio." Okay, 3:00. Boom! I came back, did another spot, and then I just stayed here to do this meeting with you guys. But that was my day today, out of the blue. I haven't done
Wow.
anything since Monday. I've been doing administrative work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and trying to get my things ready. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get attacked with work. That's how
Cha-ching.
it works nowadays. Yeah, that's how it's working right now.
No,
Man,
there's nothing wrong with that.
no, not at all. I've thoroughly enjoyed your stories and you sharing yourself with us. It's,
Thank you.
I-
I want to know more about you guys. Well, that'll be another show, I guess.
oh yeah, that's where you do it.
We're on your show.
We're on
Yeah.
your show.
But definitely, it helps to be available. That's for sure. Nowadays, a lot of people have to have second jobs or regular jobs, and then try to do voiceover. It's very difficult when you get calls out of the blue, and if you have a regular gig and you can't do it, that just kind of
Yeah, because then they stop calling you because they
stop
realize,
calling
well,
you.
we'll call him, but maybe he'll just say no, and we have to move
Yeah.
on to somebody else. Yeah, yeah.
But in that same token, it's really hard to be unemployed, man. I mean, every day I'm kind of looking for my next gig. Every day, looking for the next gig.
Yeah.
Don't know how you're gonna pay your bills next month. So
Last month I was a stripper. This month I'll do some painting. Who knows?
yeah,
Just kidding.
It's whatever it takes.
Right?
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
All
Well,
right.
Jorge, thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure being here with you guys.
Thank you for staying in the studio. Again, love your studio.
I like it here. You're welcome when you come through San Antonio and you need a place to record. I'm 5 minutes away from the airport. So you can come back over here in the studio and chill, and we'll have some fun.
Sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for coming today to VO in Stereo. As always, I'm Jared Breshers. with
I'm
Mr.
Stephen Coghill.
Yes. And thank you again for being on, Jorge. It was magical.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
it
you
so
guys
much.
for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank
Till
you,
next time,
Jorge.
everybody.
So long.